Good morning. My name is Howard Wright. I have the unique privilege of being the global leader of our AWS for Startups team, and here to talk to you about a little bit about my journey, and more importantly, about that journey that we're taking with AWS. Long time ago, this skinny little kid was lucky enough to sneak into Stanford University and learned alongside some great friends and now still colleagues. I had a short and non-illustrious career in the NBA, so if you're wondering, I'm this tall, yes, but please don't Google me because it's not nearly as impressive as just saying that I once played in the NBA. After that short and non-illustrious career, I put my degree to use, worked at Qualcomm in telecommunications, Silicon, grew up there for 14 years, left and was recruited to go to Intel, learned about semiconductor and x86 and all that, which we still benefit from today. I was there for 5 years. After that, I left and became a CEO of a startup. So I would like to think that I'm either uniquely qualified or uniquely empathetic or sympathetic to the needs of startups. And when I was approached with this job, I said wholeheartedly yes. When I talked to Matt and he interviewed me, I said, Matt, what is the job? He said, the job is to captivate the hearts and minds of the most important startups in the world and VCs and get them up and building on AWS. I said, I think I got it, and we're 7 months into the journey, having a blast, and hopefully we're making our impact wider and giving more folks access to all the tools in our tool shed. That's my journey, which is, nobody really cares about that except maybe my daughter or my mother or something like that. More importantly, our AWS startup journey, which began 16 years ago, is certainly much more important than my little story. Let's go back to what we do, and then we'll talk about what we've done. What we do every single year is invest $1 billion into the startup ecosystem. Think about systems integrators and VCs and credits and incentives to get you up and building on AWS. The credits are important and it's certainly valuable, but we also give you access to our go-to-market specialists, our solutions architects, our business teams, our sales teams. So we're trying to make sure that you get the full, warm, loving embrace from all of the tools because we have an embarrassment of riches at Amazon and AWS. This is what we want to share with our startup community around the world. Since its inception, we've worked with over 200,000 startups have come through our doors. As a result of that, we know what excellence looks like. Usually that is characterized with a certain C-suite of experts, very specific set of investors that know what they're doing, a very specific set of board members that know how to advise folks in the C-suite to meet their moment. Usually these corporations, these startups have a really unique piece of IP that is defensible, and they're doing something very disruptive. So they're trying to disintermediate something in a existing vertical, or they're trying to create a new vertical altogether. For example, some of the companies that have come through, if you've ever binge watched something on Netflix, if you've ever, most of us take an Uber over here, or you've ever stayed at an Airbnb, these are types of our partners that were once unknown that became the unicorns and the soonicorns and the single named superstar startups that we enjoy today. While we're not resting on our laurels, we're always trying to go a little bit further, a little bit faster to be more inclusive. You think about our startup lofts that now exist in Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, Tel Aviv. Come join us, spend more time with us there as we change what the face of business becomes over the next couple of years. Along with that, we're going to talk a little bit about the Impact Accelerator and how we're giving cash, credits, and access to some underrepresented founders, those of us who've been historically disenfranchised by the market, making sure that we democratize access to access. This is important to me, this is important to us as a corporation, as you heard Adam speak about at the beginning. And you'll speak to two of our most recent graduates out of our Impact Accelerator, and we'll go on from there. We were in a session Tuesday morning with Adam and some of the most important VCs in the world. I was lucky to be in the room, and it was just kind of one of those things where in the room when it happened, right? I looked around the room and I added up quickly in the back of a napkin. Of the folks in that room, the VCs, there was $40 billion in dry powder just sitting in their pockets right there. And the message was, how do we give them better access to you? How do we create more initiatives, more programming? How do we streamline more things so that they have access to the best and the brightest, and you have access to the deepest pockets in the world? That's what we're going to spend a lot of time talking about and working on in 23 and beyond. This is what we're here to do, not just post credits on a website somewhere, not just ask you to start building your plans in absentia, in a far, far away land from headquarters. Come talk to us, come work with us. This is the team of 1,500 people that we have to purposely help you do that anywhere you are in the world. Startups are our future, and we appreciate that this is from our S team down, from Adam on down. We get emails and input and ideas voluntold to us. I think that's the new word, voluntold to us all the time. So it's great to be that close to how important this is to our corporation. Last 5 years, we've seen this up and to the right. Most startup investment in the years. So if you look from 18, 19, even going back to 17, that's just up and to the right. Okay, we had some normalcy in this year, but if you look at those trends, that is just phenomenal growth, and there are no shortage of folks with great ideas, with disruptive technology, new and exciting experiences, more kids graduating from college ready to be bold. Some are coming to work for us, others are stubborn and obstinate and want to do the entrepreneurial thing themselves right out of school. And we've been meeting with them all this week, and the future is very bright for all of us for sure. That is one part of the story. The second part of the story is a little bit more sobering, and we want to have a long-form adult conversation about it today. We're not emotional about it. This is the men lie all the time, women lie all the time, the numbers never lie. Of all of the $330+ billion raised in 2021, 2% went to women founders, 1% to black founders, and 1% to LGBTQ plus founders. Now, we could just sit in our ivory towers in Seattle at headquarters and say, oh, that's how it goes, those are the breaks, or we could do something about it. We've decided to do multiple things about it, in unison, in coordination, and then our call to arms today is help us do more. We're happy to lead projects. We're happy to be co-pilots with others on projects. Let's form this coalition of the willing of partners to, again, democratize access so that all of us have a fair chance here. Some of the things that we're doing total up to a $380+ million commitment over the next several years. I'll go to the far right, which we talked about, and the two graduates that are going to come out, Tina and Kayvon, from our AWS Impact Accelerator. So, as we talked about, that's cash, that's credit, and that's access to our subject matter experts. They go through the cohort, they graduate, and we're going to have our graduates tell you their experience through the accelerator, not just me. Of the $1 billion climate fund that we have, we've earmarked $53 million out of that for women in climate startups, making sure that they have equal access to the what is the jet fuel of all of this, which is the actual cash. Recently, I think it was last month, we talked about Catalytic Fund, which is our fund of funds. We've invested $150 million into funds that have consistently and will consistently invest in companies that have underrepresented founders in the C-suite and on the board. So there's not one thing that we think is going to cure any of this that ails us. We are not naive enough to think that racism, sexism, or homophobia will be cured in the next 3 weeks. We're putting both our feet in standing strong and saying this is what we're going to do going forward, and asking for folks to come up with ideas to help us to go even faster if we can. This Impact Accelerator, and Richard is kind of the executive producer of this, and Denise Quashi has been the executor of that. It's been wild to see how just a little bit of help can be the accelerant, can light the fuse for some of our partners who have not had the right access. We started with Black Founders Fund, late spring, early summer. We are now graduating our Women's Founder Fund, and we have more funds coming, and so maybe just stay tuned for what's next on that one. The Impact Accelerator, thousands of applications that we sift through to find usually the top 25 of the cohort, and then we also work with those applicants that did not actually get accepted into the cohort, so they don't go left unattended. There's lots of different places to partner with the best and the brightest in the world. And we found that there was not one vertical that the URF members, coalesced around. It was fintech, and it's healthcare, life sciences, there's some Web3 stuff, and so it is really a microcosm of all the things that we're trying to do, and these founders happen to be underrepresented, not anything else. This is part of our coalition of the willing of partners. When I say partners, sometimes it's lowercase p partners, other times it's capital P partners, where at Amazon and AWS, one of the leadership principles is with the success and the scale that we have, that brings along great responsibility. What are we doing with that responsibility? Are we leaning in, or are we waiting for these things to organically change around the globe without our help? Well, we have a bias to action for sure, and so we're leaning in individually, we're leaning in with these like-minded partners. If you don't see your company's logo up there, come talk to us after this. We would love to do more together. We're not going to be able to do this by ourselves. We think just the future is going to look more diverse. Startups are more diverse. The startup community, the health and well-being of our AWS business. Please understand this is not a charity. This is not an Amazon Foundation thing, so we hope that we write this off as a 501c3. We're investing where others are not investing for lots of different reasons, but we also think the business case for diversity and inclusion is green. It's not black, it's not white, it's not straight, it's not gay, it's green. Democratizing access to all of these folks who have not had the proper access, we think we're going to learn from, we're going to train our models up better, and let's see when we come back next year or years from now if these are not the unicorns that we hope and expect them to be. Again, keep an eye on these logos. I think this will be pretty important, pretty fun to look at this next year, huh, Hannah? So you've heard me ramble on a little bit about what we're doing. More importantly, we'd love to bring Tina and Kayvon on so that they can talk about their experience, and I can be an active listener. With that, please join us. Hey, how are you? So Tina, ladies first, of course. Tell us about you, tell us about your business, and let's have a chat a little bit about what the Impact Accelerator has done with you or for you.
Well, thanks so much, Howard. Really appreciate it. Let's see. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. So I'm Tina Williams-Caroma. I've been in the cybersecurity field for over 20 years now. I'm a serial entrepreneur. Run a successful, profitable cyber services company for almost 9 years. And from my experience experiences in running that company, as well as just being in the field for so long. One of the things that I noticed with our customers is that there's a hesitancy and an anxiety around deploying security updates to systems because they're afraid things are going to break. And realistically, they do break sometimes. Like, so you can have operational inefficiencies because you deployed a security update. The challenge is that when organizations take so long in making updates, that is leading to a statistic of 80% of security breaches that are due to misconfigured and unpatched systems. So basically organizations not making security updates when they should. And the average cost of those breaches is over $4 million per breach per organization. So organizations are in a position of having to choose between being secure and being operationally efficient. So Cydeploy helps to remove having to make that and allows organizations to balance both security and operational efficiency by providing a remote test bed where organizations can test out using automated functional tests the functional impact of making a security update before actually deploying those updates to production. So that's what my team and I have been working on and continue to work on with our customers. So Kayvon, another one of my Impact Accelerator cohort members. I'll pass the mic.
All right, I think I have a mic. Can you guys hear me okay? Testing. I used to do this when I worked at a bookstore, Barnes & Noble, selling Frappuccinos. Anyway, so thanks for having me, Howard. So Kayvon Barinjan, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Hubble IQ. Hubble IQ is a digital experience management SaaS platform. And companies around the world use our software to support their remote workers and support their remote technologies over, in, and through the cloud. Digital experience management is so important because you don't control the equipment anymore. The tech stack is completely public and it's constantly changing. So when our clients use our software, they're able to see that the service they're providing to their customers or the work applications that they're providing to their remote or distributed workforce, they're struggling over parts of the web that they don't control. This is going to be their Wi-Fi. This is going to be the Starbucks Wi-Fi. It's going to be the Wi-Fi in my room this morning, right? I'm sitting in the room trying to get work done this morning. I have 2 hours, running a business. My time is very, very precious. I lost a significant amount of time because somewhere up or down the stack, my connectivity and my experience was poor. Now, I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated at the hotel. I don't know if it's the hotel. It might be the hotel's provider. It might be the cloud. I don't know. All I know is I'm blaming the hotel, and I may not stay there again because of the experience I had. So, SaaS providers, businesses, they're now victim of the blame game we've always had with our internet service providers. So we help them manage that, and the problem's going to keep getting bigger and bigger as we become more distributed, more mobile, more hybrid, whatever you call it. And that's where digital experience management comes in, and we put that power of managing that experience in the hands of big companies, small companies, and everything in between.
So staying with you, Kayvon, some of the biggest challenges before the Impact Accelerator, and what has changed, what has improved, and most importantly, what can we do better to help CEOs like yourself?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I mean, going into this entrepreneurial game in and of itself is it's pretty. It takes guts, and coming as Black founders. There's a little bit more, I think, to overcome in order to get to the point where it's like, okay, now we can lean on the business. We can lean on the value that we're adding to the market. So by being a part of the Impact Accelerator, I think what that stamp did for us is it unlocked a lot of the workflows and work streams that allowed us to, get sort of more trusted by our new customers, our prospects that now became customers, because they say, oh, you're a part of the Amazon program. We trust it. I believe that it's actually helped us get through the process of raising our seed round, which we recently did, and navigate that whole process of due diligence. So those two things I think are the biggest takeaways from the program. And then personally, I mean, you get to meet folks doing incredible things, solving very, very hard problems. Enterprise, business intelligence, technical problems that look like you. And you don't necessarily see that very often. I mean, look at Cydeploy, you'll see C-Model at the booths at Expo Hall. I mean, we got big problems to solve, and we are very capable of doing it.
Same question here for you. On the outside looking in, and then now having gone through the process, what are your takeaways?
Yeah, so I would certainly second Kayvon's input around just the stamp of credibility. So SciDeploy is really focused on being able to help companies, no matter the types of technology or applications they might have running on their solutions. And most of our customers, we had already done a market research to determine what some of the major cloud providers are that our customers are largely using. And AWS was one of those top clouds, right, with our target customers. And so when we talk to different customers now around what we're doing, where we're deployed, et cetera, there's a certain level of oh, okay, that's good. You're working with AWS. Yep, stay with that relationship, right? And so that's really helpful for us as we're going about the process of acquiring new customers. The other thing I would say that's really phenomenal is that the relationship with AWS doesn't end, and it hasn't ended with the end of the program of the accelerator. We continue to work with AWS. There's so many different programs and pockets of programs across AWS, and so we're working with them now on another technology-related project with SciDeploy. And so what we're really looking forward to is being able to add value to what AWS is already providing to their customers with SciDeploy's solution, right? So I think a part of that is what we're continuing to look forward to as the relationship with AWS continues and has continued even beyond the program.
Yeah. So staying on that thread, 2023, how do we help you scale? So you've built, and now how do we go into hyperspace here? How do we scale together with and for you? What's on your agenda for 23 and 24?
Yeah, so the biggest thing now is specifically data.
Okay.
And so I was speaking to one of the members of the IA team last night. We'll be following up on an email, but we're looking for about 10,000 additional data points, functional tests to help train our ML model.
Yeah.
So we're looking to increase its accuracy and being able to identify the different applications that our customers are running,
Yeah.
and then the typical end user functional uses that are used there. And so those are the data points. So trying to get creative with you all to see how we can scale there.
Very cool. What's next? How about you?
Yeah, it's twofold, really. I mean, we're a global native, cloud native business, and I mean, we're working with the biggest, cloud business in the world that knows how to scale, and it's part of the virtues. So, as you open up new data centers, we enter new markets. So we take advantage of that. How we do that effectively, I think we use Amazon really as a model because we're a small company, but we can swing way above our weight class. With some of the ML and AI technologies, like the way we're able to predict and anticipate, that your Comcast is about to cut out is because of data processing. We're a small team, right? And we're going up against some big hitters. So those services that get rolled out and the resources that can help us figure out how to leverage those at an efficient cost, I mean, it's priceless.
So we talked about scale, talked about bigger plans. Have there been some synergies with other folks in the cohort, other folks in marketplace, other CTO, part of our CTO fellowship? Are we doing a good enough job being the, central repository of some really cool information and making sure that our partners are leveraging one another?
Well, I'll tell you this. While you were doing the first half of the presentation, we were coming up with the Hubble IQ SciDeploy story. Makes sense.
Okay.
Right? So that in and of itself, just keep it the cohort.
Yeah, we had the microphone on back then too. That is
was a hot
all.
mic,
That is all our patented IP at this point. So thank you very much for that.
Told you, we gotta watch out for the hot mic.
Yeah.
But in terms of moving forward, I think it's your question. On the network, keeping the cohort.
Okay.
I think actually combining the cohorts. I met some of the new cohorts. They're doing some awesome things too, and I'm really excited to meet them in San Francisco next week. And then I think for me, I guess platforms like this allow us to turn what we're doing into an example.
Okay.
That's not a responsibility we have, but we got the Amazon stamp. That's awesome, but we can't just take it and run.
Yeah.
And we have the opportunity. I know, I talked to the other cohorts, and I think you feel the same way. It's like, yeah, we want to be successful. Our success is going to show others around us that, there's a big untapped market in front of you that are solving hard problems that can make a lot of money.
Okay.
And we got to be the pioneers of it.
So Ed, what is the message also to this group, which is we're nobody's victims, we are victors and steadily striding into what this new world order looks like. Anything you want to share with us as kind of closing thoughts on this part of the cohort?
Yeah, I think that already, like I have in mind that I've been in and around this field, for 20 plus years, have my perspective, work with different people. The ideas and the problem that SciDeploy is solving is not any sort of problem that recognizes any color, any geographic region, any other demographic. If you are an organization that is networked and connected and you have to manage changes and you need to manage those changes in a way that balances operational efficiencies and security, which is every organization systems, then SciDeploy is something that is relevant. And especially as we see a proliferation of technology, SciDeploy right now is focused on IT, but what we have in R&D right now is SciDeploy being applied to IoT, Internet of Things. And that's really significant because right now when we talk about impact and the way that we measure impact of not properly balancing security and operational efficiencies, we're really looking at financial costs. But IoT and where it's deployed with sensors and being used in so many different critical infrastructure sectors, it's not just monetary, it comes into also human, and you can't put a price tag on that, especially think of medical devices. That's one of the IoT areas, right? Like, who wants grandma's pacemaker to be something that's open and susceptible to attack? And yet sometimes those manufacturers are slow to make security updates because they're like, well, is it still going to function the way that it should? The federal government had that concern. They passed legislation in 2021 saying any IoT now that gets used in federal government space is going to have certain security parameters and details associated with it. And so that means that IoT developers are going to have to go back to the drawing board and figure out what's going to be the functional impact of incorporating security into our devices. And that's where we want SciDeploy to be right there to answer that question, help them answer that question efficiently. So, when we're thinking about these problems that are being solved, while we are diverse founders, these are not, the problems that we are solving are not limited to just like segments of the community or a particular demographic. These are universal problems that are being solved. Normalizing us as the face of founders as well is something that's just so vital because these solutions are needed. And for any startup, no matter whether it's a black founder, a woman founder, et cetera, the oxygen of any startup is funding. Like you can only go as fast as you are funded. And that's, something that I've regularly said. Like this is a solution that needs to get to market. Speed to market is something that's always vital for a startup. And so, that's why it's just really imperative to, recognize that solutions can come from anybody. And I think that's a part of like what some of these accelerators can do is start democratizing and start normalizing the face of founders, what a founder looks like.
Yeah, I love how you said that. What you're looking on stage right now are two black entrepreneurs, black founders, but you're also looking at probably decades of deep enterprise SaaS tech experience, right? So there's a lot more characteristics that brought us here, and I think they get part of what we want to do to sort of exemplify what the face of tech and startups look like is like, yes, and they're black, right? So we want to let our businesses speak for themselves. We want to make a lot of money just like everybody else. We use our networks just like everybody else, and I think that's the opportunity we have. So in terms of the Hubble IQ plug, we're all remote workers. We're all doing something over the web. We're all remote working here. So if you have a business or a service that is dependent on, distributed technology or say the technology stack, if you're worried that someone playing a video game is going to affect the service experience with your application, or if you're tired of bad Zoom calls, doesn't matter. We can help you with that. So we'll be at the booth right next to SciDeploy at the expo hall and doing demos and talking digital experience and security.
Yep.
Yeah, we deeply appreciate the partnership. We deeply appreciate we're going to be customers of this technology, not just AWS, but capital A, Amazon for years and years. And it's a good segue into some of the other things that we're doing that we mentioned, where this Impact Accelerator, there's a Climate Pledge Fund, there's a Healthcare Accelerator, there's the startups. We've done a fund around Alexa. This is the first list. I would argue that this list is going to continue to have more windows and more windows, and we're going to find ways to make sure that everyone has a seat at the table and everyone has access. Would like to kind of close with a couple things. We talked about captivate the hearts and minds of the most important startups in the world and get them up and building on AWS. I don't take myself seriously, but we take that job very, very seriously. If you have an idea, if you need access to somebody on our team, or if you need access and we can be a conduit to another group inside AWS or Amazon, please let us know. I'm just howard@amazon.com. Believe it or not, that domain existed, and Anthony was nice enough to help me get that one. This is our job. This is what we love doing. I was an entrepreneur or CEO for 2 years and come back to the kind of the multinational, but hopefully we are empathetic and sympathetic and accretive to your mission, which is your success contributes to our success as well. That is really our time for today. Just wanted to share a few thoughts as we launch into 23 and beyond. This is our time. We'd love for you to thank Tina and Kayvon for their time as well.
Thank you so much.